Hello, everyone. So this is CEO and co-founder of EVA, and today we are on our aggregator and brand show. We have Omar, my co-host. You know, he's looking great as usual, and we have a legend in the Amazon world, Stephen Pope.
You're too kind. Thank you.
Hi. So
nice to be here.
Welcome, Stephen.
I appreciate it.
Great.
Thanks for having me on.
Great, Stephen. Great to have you here. You know, my Amazon guy in the house. Let's talk about the aggregators. Let's talk about what's going on in the space, what will be happening from now on, and all the news. I will bring some up of these because there was something really, really nice what came out today. Maybe you heard it already, but let's just start with the usual questions. What do you think? Where are we going? What is going on? Is there still space for any aggregators to get some more? Because right now they are already going to India buying, they are all over the place. So maybe the US is not enough anymore. What's going on?
So there's a lot going on, I guess would be one way to put it, right? We keep seeing developments from every left and right angle. Thrasio buying, big giant India corporations, you name it. It's like, okay, what are these guys not going to buy? That would be like the bigger piece of news. You know, it's all about vertical control, right? So how did Jeff Bezos make his empire? He vertically controlled everything. And oh, by the way, if you type in Amazon guy into Google, I actually outrank Jeff Bezos. So I'm the real
SEO team. You have a good SEO team, definitely.
So yeah, if we can do good SEO for ourselves, imagine what we can do for you on Amazon, right? There's the plug. But in any case, it's interesting to see like all these aggregators, they come in and most of them are just cash flooded, right? They're just trying to deploy cash every which way they can. And obviously the most common way for them to do that is to buy Amazon brands. There's a lot of other things that they should be doing with their cash, and some are and some aren't, like, I don't know, hiring people to run the brands after they buy them, or buying the infrastructure and the warehousing and the teams that are going to be required. But for the most part, I think, you know, last year really set it in stone for what the aggregators are looking for.
Okay, that's already a very, very good overview. You know, talking about the news, what I just mentioned, today, Elevate Brands, I'm sure you have seen it already. They came out with a kind of the payout for any sellers now can be as well made in crypto.
Which is not a surprising angle to go, of course,
it's true.
Right?
It's true,
yeah.
But it's already a bit late, what I think, you know? It's only the first one who tried their way a little bit in there. I mean, we have crypto all over the place, major countries already adopting it. So now the first aggregator comes into the picture. I mean, it's a brave step, really, because, you know, it's so-called sometimes borrowed money, which they buying other stuff with. So they put themselves in it's a bit risky, but I think in that position, what they are is a very, very good move, and to make even more money and give the buyers as well more opportunities in order to cash out, not only in US dollars, maybe in USDT, maybe to park it, you know, and then reinvest it. I mean, I think it's great. It's a great move, and they are now standing on top and getting all the news, you know.
I think it's a good marketing ploy, if nothing else, right? Like,
exactly.
I mean, if I was a seller trying to sell to any of the aggregators and I said, hey, pay me in Bitcoin, they would make it happen. I guarantee, like, it's not like a hard thing to do. But for Elevate to come out and publicly say, like, we're trying to pay you in crypto, it's sexier, right? And for the dude that's living outside of the country on an island somewhere, and he's got his lifestyle brand and he's finally ready to exit, that's going to resonate with them, because what do they want to do right now? They want a ton of crypto because of, you know, buy on the dip. And right with inflation now, rates, it's, you know, it's like, it's interesting because inflation and with the interest rate situation in the US, where they're going to raise the interest rates, all of the financial major players pulled out of the stock market, pulled out of crypto, and caused a major dump. And so, like, you know, Ethereum, $4,500, like, you know, not even 2 months ago, it's like 2,600 today.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad time to buy on the dip on that, from that standpoint. And I know we don't want to go down the crypto rabbit hole, but there's obviously a future there too. And so for business owners that are listening to this and you're like, okay, where do I put my money right now? That's got to be like the number one question people are thinking about. And it's, never been a better time to sell on Amazon, but it's also never been a harder time to sell on Amazon, which is why some are looking to exit.
That's right.
Yeah.
By the way, I mean, back to this interest rate situation, it looks like companies raising more than $50 million, more and more, there will be a bit of an issue because all the venture capitalists, private equity firms, with the interest rates, it will be harder for them to call for money. So I'm already kind of seeing that on the Series D, like in the private market, Series D, E, where people are raising 100 million or more, the valuations started to decline. So that's also something that I'm also observing. Not on the Series A, which is why I am also looking at it, because we are going to raise a Series A this year. And, I think, that may impact, so far the aggregators raised like $13 billion, but I'm not sure if there will be another 13 billion waiting for them. What's your view on that, Steven?
It's interesting to see like how the investments are going to play out, right? Because like after one of the aggregators goes public, the rest are going to follow suit in like a domino effect. And then after somebody goes public and some of this dominoes, you're then going to see, instead of it just being venture capital come into the space, you're going to see private equity, and then you're going to see public equity, right? And so the series of events that are coming to the space are going to revolutionize and change how everything works. And so when I first started on my journey to research the aggregators, and I made a website where I track them all called AmazonAggregators.com. And if you're curious, you can check it out.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Really. I've seen it.
We just basically collected as much public data as we could and put it all in one place. And so there was a moment in time when I saw, 13 billion at the time was like 3 or 4 billion. I'm like, what's going on here? And I was like, am I going to end up working for the aggregators someday? Like what's going to happen? And so I was just intellectually curious from I'm a sole owner of my business. We have 200 brands we work with, 140 employees. And I just was, as a CEO and a sole founder, sole owner, wanted to know like, what's going to happen in my space? So I went out and interviewed like 40 different aggregators. Some of them were very, very private at the time. Some have become more public and started joining me on podcasts. And if you're an aggregator listening to this and you want to be on my podcast, best way to do that is send your PPC expert over, and let me grill them, live with all the questions. That's what people want. So, I get requests all the time for that stuff, but there's going to be a lot of changes, and most are good and some are bad, right? So as one bad example, PVC costs went up 35% last year. And I don't think we can entirely blame the aggregators for dumping money into the space. It's not their fault entirely, but at least 5 or 10% is their fault, I think. So there's a lot of things that are going to change. That's one of the bad things, right? Some of the good things, though, is that Amazon brands were undervalued. That's a fact.
Yes. Definitely.
And so seeing a correction come in, we all are going to win together when that happens. And if Amazon brands are now getting the value that they deserve, that means you as a brand owner and a business owner are going to have a little bit more of a winning strategy long term, because not everybody wants an exit plan, right? Like there's only 4 ways a company ends. And I think, just off the top of my head, it's like, okay, you sell, you pass it on, or it goes under, and I forget the 4th one. But so something like that. So you got to have an exit plan, know what you're doing.
Exactly. And at the end, the positives are definitely more than the negatives having aggregators. And when they pay cash, most of the Amazon sellers, they just go and start another brand after 6 months or 12 months, and they have the money, which means they can also invest more compared to the previous whatever journey that they had. So it's all good. So back to the brands, I think, you mentioned the CPC, raising 35%, and it looks like it will continue to raise this year according to, the forecast. So
Amazon's out of space. How many more ads can you fit into the search engine right now?
I mean, you are pretty much right. Like, I remember like 10 years ago, you can go to Amazon.com, you can have all this, like the people who bought this product also bought this product and this and this and that. And right now there is nothing at all. Like there is no real recommendation. Everything is sponsored.
I'm one of the, yeah, it's true. I'm one of the original advertisers on Amazon, right? So like I did beta advertising.
Wow.
I was getting 2 cents
That's
a click
way back
to sell rice cookers. And I had the #1 spot for rice cookers. And I was selling hundreds and hundreds of these a week, right? Like, yeah. So like I missed those days. That was the gravy train. Back then I didn't even have money. So I was working for the man when I was doing this, right? And so if only I had done my investments then. Best time to plant a tree is yesterday, but next best time is today, right? So, but it's come a long way, and so we're going to see a lot of things. And if you don't have video ads up right now, man, you're missing out, because that's the space you got to go next.
I mean, there is something that you said, and I'm gonna pick that thing. You said you're managing 200 brands with like 170 people. That means like, per brand, maybe it's not always the best way of looking at it, but like per brand, you have like one guy or 0.9 person.
Yep. That's a true statement.
Now, when I look at some of these aggregators, and I also work with a lot of them, and one of my challenges is like I'm always getting a consensus of like 6 people deciding on one single thing, for example. And when I look at it,
when you heard some cats while I'm at it.
Yeah, they have like 6 to 7 people per brand. That's kind of the average that I see right now. Obviously, their claim is, well, the number of brands they have is now like, too low, and they're gonna increase it, but they continue to add 6 more people each time they got another brand. So do you see that like consistent, like the money that they spend, because at the end it has to be a profitable business. With investments, you can acquire the brands, and I understand that. But in terms of operating the brand, do you see that efficiency as well, or the efficient operators, the aggregators, as the efficient operators right now?
So if we look at the business model, the claim or the theory or the hypothesis, depending on how you want to describe it, is that sophistication is increasing on Amazon, right? There's a lot of reasons that are going to go in. So let me set up some inherency real quick here. So on the left, you've got Amazon aggregators dumping in $13 billion, which means the complexity of your competition has gone up. So that's like layer 1. Layer 2 on the right is the Chinese coming in and selling direct to the consumer for the first time and accelerating, which then brings down the average cost per item lower. So higher complexity, higher competition, lower cost, i.e. lower margin. And then finally, Amazon is entering the maturity phase as a marketplace, putting pressure downward. And so if you're a mom and pop seller and you're looking to your left at the aggregators, you're looking to your right at the Chinese, and you're looking up at Amazon, you feel very boxed in right now. So that's the inherency, in my opinion. So the question of the business model, the hypothesis is, if you bring together a bunch of experts, can you pool resources, be more efficient, and get better results across a portfolio of brands? This model has been proven repeatedly through history. It's a no-brainer model. The real question is how quickly can they do it, and are they deploying resources in the right locations? The more locations that an aggregator gets vertical control in, the more long-term signaling that they're giving. So if they have bought a boat, and if they have bought a warehouse, and they've got a manufacturing plant, in addition to owning 40, 50, 60, 80 different Amazon brands, that would be a really great signal that they're going to be successful, because they're not just doing the pooling of brand ownership, they're also pooling the vertical control. The reason why we can get away with, a body per brand or less is because we're just focused on the marketing, right? So at my company, at my Amazon guy, we do everything we can to grow sales. And we do that through 2 ways: grow traffic, improve conversion rates. And on the traffic side, it's basic. It's PPC and SEO. And on the conversion side, it's a little bit less basic, but it's design and catalog work. Of those 4 areas, I can tell you right now, the aggregators are properly investing in PPC. Hard to find the talent, but they're properly understood that, hey, this is an important quad. Design is the easiest to find support on. You can take a run-of-the-mill designer from non-Amazon space and plug and play them in Amazon, and you'll be okay. The two that they're not investing in right now in much of any shape or form is SEO and catalog. And, hey, we're talking about, earlier, just before we hit the record button, how I just called out all the SEO tools. You're all wrong. You're not counting the search terms correctly. You're counting the spaces, which means you can get 20% more value, right? And that's the difference between what Amazon's classifying as a character versus a byte. And that's a very complex topic. We'll avoid that rabbit hole if you want. But suffice it to say, like, the ags they don't have an SEO expert at their company. Like maybe they hired a business analyst who worked on Wall Street, and if you've seen Moneyball, maybe they're a quant or two in the room, and they want to get on base. And I get it. And that's a freaking good movie, by the way. You got to see Brad Pitt in action. But nobody, not a single aggregator is investing in the catalog team in the proper methodologies, right? Not only do you need merchandisers, which are proactive investors, this is your copywriting, this is your listing builders, maybe they've got that, but have any of you ever heard of a reactive catalog troubleshooting team outside of an agency? Because I haven't.
Well, what I heard, and I can tell you that just because it's also very much surprising me all the time. I start talking to an aggregator. He's talking about the hundred millions of dollars. And then I asked the question, okay, what's your SEO strategy? Oh, we got a professional subscription of Helium 10. I said, how much did you pay?
That's not a strategy. That's a tool.
$90. Yeah, it's like, people think like, okay, let's buy Helium 10, $90. Done.
Exactly.
So we are done with the strategy now.
And Helium is counting characters instead of bytes, which means if you're trusting the tool, not only do you not have a strategy, and by the way, I love Helium 10. I'm saying this with love.
Oh yes, definitely.
But all of the SEO tools got this wrong, and I called them out, and even tools like ZonGuru, they've already updated, in less than 2 business days, they updated their tool to make the change. So like, there's some cutting edge strategy and tools out there. But yeah, if you don't have a pilot, first of all, like let's say the Amazon aggregators, what are they going to do for the SEO strategy? Read the Amazon help files. Yeah, well, the Amazon help files tell you, hey, A+ content doesn't even index, which we know is false. And anybody listening to this can test it yourself. You put copy into your A+ content, it will index. Here's how you know. Take Spanish keywords in the US market, put it behind one photo's alt text. There's 100 characters of alt text inside of any photo on Amazon, exactly, and put Spanish in there. And I will guarantee you that it will index in under 48 hours. It happens every single time. And that's how you know they index A+ content. So these are the sort of things, like these are the 2 pieces of, thought leadership I've added to the space in the last year. A+ content indexes, I won that debate. And then spaces don't count against your character count, a la bytes in the search term field. And I'm just starting to break that news in the last week. So these are sort of things that like Amazon aggregators will have no idea how to do it and how to build out. And what they'll do is they'll hire the designers who they used on their Google website, and they're going to build these nice, pretty designs. They're going to look great. They're going to be aesthetically pleasing, but they won't drive traffic. They might help your conversion and they might look good on mobile, but they won't drive SEO traffic. So they got to invest here.
Absolutely.
So
it's a great point.
Maybe for that reason, Perch, for example, just hired an Amazon executive. Not sure how they did this one, but they are beginning as well on this direction because they have to,
Keep in mind, the left hand at Amazon doesn't even know what the right hand's doing. I don't even think you could find somebody at Amazon that could explain to you how their actual algorithm works. So hiring Amazon executives, it's cute. It looks good on paper. It might sound good to the stories you tell the investors. It is not sufficient. It's one check mark, but it's a start.
And I'm pretty sure that, like as you are managing the whole Amazon account, yesterday, one of my customers was asking me, so why don't you just go to Amazon, ask them the question, and they will respond to you in the right way. So you can do it. And I said, wow, yeah, that's how it works with Amazon. Like it's 3 minutes.
Who here hasn't prayed to Jeff Bezos? Dear Jeff Bezos, please answer my ticket. Amazon is screwing me over with a policy that makes 0 sense. Please help. Everybody has said those prayers, and very few of us have had, the heavens part and our Seller Central accounts fixed.
Exactly. So, but that's kind of the story there. So let's kind of move a little bit towards the brands now. I mean, I think there is a lot to talk about aggregators, but I think our the value that we deliver is mostly for the brands. What's your way? What they should like? At least it's great. They have the aggregators. They can build an exit strategy. I'm more interested with your opinion. Like now, the aggregators have the money. They are also contributing to increase of the costs. Now we have the brands. They are also kind of competing with all the aggregators, the Chinese, the Amazon brands, as you mentioned. Now, what should they do? Like to be also profitable, to have the best price on their products, but also like to have that ability to compete and scale? What should they do?
There's two tips I'm going to give that I think you can execute into your strategy this year. Tip number one is you need to buy a year's supply of inventory and make sure you never stock out. The number one thing that's going to hurt your sale to an aggregator is if you stock out of inventory. The supply chain sucks right now. It is definitely not getting any better in the next 2 years. California port, I know you're local in San Diego. You're probably like looking over your shoulder and being like, what's going on over here in the California ports? Frick, man, like I keep getting all kinds of differing opinions on what's actually happening with the supply chain over there. But whether the reason is political or whether the reason is logistical, the outcome is still the same. Don't stock out of your goods. Buy a year's supply and store them. Now, restock limits, IPI scores, all of these are challenges that are in your way for making that happen. You're going to need your own warehouse, or you're going to need a reliable 3PL. Very hard to find these things. But suffice it to say, that's got to be on your top 3 rocks for the year to solve, is logistics, inventory management, and whatnot. The second tip that I will give you is that when you go to look to sell to an aggregator, you need to make sure that you have a plan, specifically a development plan for your products. What are you going to sell in 2022 that you didn't sell in 21? And what are you going to sell in 23? I would suspect that out of 100 people that are listening to this, that out of every 100 that are listening, maybe 5 have a plan that goes into 2023 already. And that's a problem. If people don't have plans for product expansion, then how is the brand going to grow? What do ags want to see? They want to see growth. They want to see size. Now, there's a bunch of other common things that, I think most people know at this point. Like, hey, if you're selling supplements, good luck. There's only one aggregator out there that I know that wants to buy supplements. It's not the sexiest thing to buy. They want evergreen products that are, your hero type products inside of the search results with thousands of reviews. And they don't want to buy your 3,000 SKU brand that has 1,000 different colors and variations of your arm sleeves in the sports athletics. They don't want that. They want easy to run accounts that they could do something like Thrasio did with the orange pet odor product. All they did was repackage the thing, water it down, and spend some money on ads. And by the way, this is a great tip. Your main image, if it doesn't have a front and center packaging word or two that literally describes your product and it explains to the customer, this is what I'm looking for, your click-through rates are going to be affected negatively. If you haven't run a pick food test, an A/B test, for example, of your product versus your competitors, that's another great tactic that you can do today to find out like how you're going to stack up against the competition. It's really important to know how to drive traffic and improve your conversion rates continuously using best practices. Avoid rebate key, avoid anything that drives external traffic. No, you don't need to have a Shopify account. You can be an Amazon only brand. Don't diversify over to eBay. I mean, I own my eBayguy.com. I own, my WalmartGuy.com. Don't get me wrong, but like at the end of the day, ags are really focused on running core businesses with core functions that are basic. Got to be franchised down so a dummy can run it. Those. I know that was a little long on the monologue there. Sorry.
No, but that's great. I mean, I really enjoyed that. Maybe on the first topic, right? Like, we did an investment to have a new warehouse in California, 50,000 square feet. That was like 6 months ago. Right now, it's already filled, already like full. I mean, I'm like
prices are going to go up again.
Yeah, and it's even hard to find a good warehouse. Now we want to kind of add another 50,000 square feet. It's very hard to find people even. And then, you know, still there is at least, you know, 20 customers that want to use the 3PL services. So that's also kind of really very tough, but it's a nice business. So I'm very happy for that investment in the 3PL and also building the software on it right now, because I think there is a lack of really good software that can integrate with Amazon. So an Amazon seller can see right away what's going on the 3PL, how many units are received or what is where. You know, that kind of visibility is also missing right now with the Amazon sellers.
I'm going to try and launch my warehouse guy this year, and we just purchased a warehouse up in the Carolinas. So yeah, I see the opportunity there, because there's just it's like
definitely
how many people call and ask you like, hey, do you have a 3PL you can recommend? Do you have a warehouse you can recommend? And then how many do you? Yeah, and then you go back and you say, I get this question all the time, but I don't feel comfortable referring any out because there's just so much demand and not a lot of good service right now.
That's right.
Oh, absolutely. The services are not very good, because, you know, it just happened overnight that suddenly, I mean, from what I remember, like the real big ones was like Shipwire, like 8 years ago, 10 years ago, like really big, you know, who had like these type of services. And then afterwards, I mean, there were here and there. I mean, the States is known for having quite a good infrastructure for moving Amazon goods outside of Amazon. But in Europe, it's really hard, you know, it's really hard. And since Brexit happened, and since the whole problem with China, the containers are so expensive, it's getting completely crazy here as well. You know, they, I mean, even their own Chinese, for example, the manufacturers, they buy their own warehouses here straight away. They don't even store anymore. They just buy the warehouse, you know, and then when they're done with it, they just leave it and they leave, you know.
Control.
All control.
About vertical control.
Right. No, I mean, that's great. And I think this, the prevent the stuck out and focus on the traffic and focusing on the core business. I really like that. Maybe, you know, like, because you mentioned that you also own the my Walmart guy and my eBay guy, but then what's your strategy with that other marketplaces, specifically Walmart, as it's kind of growing? Although I know a lot of brands apply to Walmart, no news.
I don't know about Walmart.
For 6 months,
I don't know.
You know,
it grows as fast as my toenails do. Let's just put it that way, right? Like it's a slow growth. And so should you be on Walmart? Yeah, but at the end of the day, if you do 100K a month on Amazon, the most you're going to get out of Walmart is between 5 and 7K. Now, does that sound attractive to add 5 or 7% to your bottom line? Absolutely. Here's the problem. It takes 2 times as much effort or 3 times as much effort. And so it's like, okay, what would be better for your time this year? If you're looking, you know, I'm a big fan of Traction. If you haven't read the Traction book by Gino Wickman, you got to read that book. And in there, they talk about rocks. What are your rocks for this year? And you're going to ignore everything else and you're going to focus on those rocks. Don't get distracted, right? Don't look at your Facebook feed and go down the rabbit hole. You gotta man up and pick something and go do it. And if you execute it with a system, you're going to be better off. And so does Walmart pass the sniff test as a rock to expand, or would you be better off launching another product on Amazon? And if you still have a list of products, and everybody should have a list of products and a closet full of demoed products that you haven't launched yet, you better have 10 products that you're thinking about launching at any given time. Execute 3 at a time. Always be launching 3, because for every 3 products you launch, 1 is going to fail, 1 is going to break even, and 1 is going to fall flat and lose money. And if you launch in 3s, at least you got a good ratio. And that's even a good ratio for Amazon experts. You know, I got failed products I keep around just to remind me, right? Like I launched this nice sweet heat hot sauce, and then and I paid Amazon to do the prep work, right? So they do all the bubble wrapping and all that stuff. And I thought I was great, perfect. I'm in good shape, right? Well, this 4.5 pound glass bottle, you know what Amazon did? Freaking shipped it out in padded envelopes. What the frick? Like I didn't even see that one coming, right? Like, so if the Amazon experts supposed, right, cannot get and predict things like that from happening, then of you as an Amazon brand owner that doesn't have access to as much data as like an Amazon expert with 200 accounts, good luck, right? Like you're going to have to launch in 3s. So that way you at least pad yourself on the data.
Yeah.
Oh, this is definitely some real valuable information for our listeners.
Absolutely.
Hi, do you have any more questions?
Well, maybe a final thing is obviously, I mean, the strategies for the brand, that's really great. Thank you very much for that, Steven. So how you guys help the Amazon sellers? We want to also know more, you know, what you can do now, what you are advising a brand owner to do with My Amazon Guy. If they want to reach out to you, why should they do that?
Best thing I could say is go to myamazonguy.com. I'm sharing my screen here, although you didn't give me permission to do this. Anything that grows traffic and in conversion rate improvements in Seller Central is in scope. That's everything we do. PPC and SEO on traffic growth, design and catalog management on conversion. And if you want to reach out, contact us there on our website at myamazonguy.com. We'd be happy to help you out. We can definitely make your brand shine, get some of that dirt out of the gutters, clean out the leaves from your gutters on your house. So that way, when you have the inspection show up from Mr. Aggregator, your brand will go for a higher multiple. We can run an audit. If you just need a one and done, we could also run full service and grow your brand so it's sexier and has a higher multiple when you go to sell it.
Very well said.
Great to hear that, Steven. So thank you very much for joining us and great feedback.
That was amazing. Thank you.
That's really amazing.
All this knowledge.
Thanks for having me on. My pleasure.
Thank you.